Cruise news time. Well, we've got a cruise line rising from the ashes, like a phoenix. A cruise line that several people love. We also have a sad story of a cruise ship, the world's oldest cruise ship, going to the scrapyard. Another exciting story about a cruise line making a big charitable donation. And you got to hear this. A lady who was detained for being sarcastic on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship. This is a cautionary tale. Cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face for Wednesday, February the 1st, 2023. Cruise news story number one. Do you remember the saga? The saga of Crystal Cruises. Crystal Cruises, owned by Genting Hong Kong. And well, Genting Hong Kong ran out of money. And without money from their parent company, Crystal Cruises could no longer pay their fuel bill. And they had to shut down. But that wasn't good enough for the people that gave them the fuel. The cruise ships done got arrested. There was a lawsuit filed in the United States that put an injunction against the cruise ships, and they were detained in the Bahamas waiting to see what would happen. They went through a bankruptcy process, and on the back end of that bankruptcy process, the Crystal brand, including the ships, two of the ships, were bought by A&K Travel, Abercrombie and Kent, with the hopes of a future relaunch. Boy, that was a quick summation. But the relaunch is happening this summer under the new brand Crystal. And an interesting thing that they did during this process of relaunching the brand is they've also redesigned the cruise ships to make larger accommodations. So they really want to take Crystal to the next level of luxury, all-inclusive travel. And they plan to travel all over the place. Alaska, the Caribbean, the Mediterranean. And I know there were a lot of loyal Crystal cruisers out there. I remember when I talked about these stories originally, I got a lot of feedback. And so I'm going to kick that same question over to you. Have you cruised Crystal in the past? Are you excited about this relaunch? Will you give them a shot going forward? It is nice to see a brand that was so well known that we thought was gone will remain in space. How about that? Cruise news story number two. Let's talk about the world's oldest cruise ship, a cruise ship that was built just 36 years after the sinking of the Titanic, built in 1948 for 556 passengers. The Astoria will finally be making her way to the scrapyard. Now, this cruise ship has seen a lot of life and a lot of different aspects of life. Most recently, she was sailing under the name Astoria for Cruise and Maritime Voyages. That's a British cruise line. Unfortunately, that cruise line did not survive the pandemic. It went out of business. After Cruise and Maritime Voyages went out of business, it was picked up by a cryptocurrency billionaire in 2021. Speculation that there were plans to revitalize it and continue to use it as a cruise ship. And well, now the news has come out that the Astoria will be going to the scrapyard. And so Astoria, we tip your hat to you. Thank you for all the memories that you provided people over the years, and you will be fondly remembered. The question that it begs to me is, how many people were born but before this cruise ship was built? We got any watchers out there built before 1948, born before 1948? Leave a comment below. Now, before I get to cruise news story number three, let me just give you a quick what's going on with me update. I am, of course, still here on the Norwegian Breakaway doing the Vloggers Extravaganza. Yesterday, we had a port stop in Costa Maya, Mexico. It was a nice, hot, and windy. If you've ever been to Costa Maya, you know that it is always windy in Costa Maya. I got off the ship yesterday afternoon for about an hour and a half, tried to get some steps in. I walked over to the port of Costa Maya, took a look around, bought a hat. But yeah, it was a nice day there, beautiful day in port, very sunny, very hot, very windy, and a pretty typical day in Costa Maya. This is the spot where I went to the Chakchoban ruins before with my daughters, and it was a good day. Everybody is having a blast on the cruise. Then saw a really excellent show last night called Burn the Floor. We're not allowed to film in there, so I'm just going to tell you, if you get a chance to see Burn the Floor, it's a really good show. But yeah, having a great time on the cruise. That's just a quick update going on there. Cruise news story number three. Yesterday we talked about Carnival raising a significant amount of money for St. Jude charity. And while Holland America Line, another Carnival brand, they've also had their own fundraising going on for the past 10 months, specifically targeted at helping the effort in Ukraine. I experienced this recently on my Holland America trip. They have an event specifically for the fundraising. It's a 5K walk around the cruise ship. You pay $25 to participate in the 5K walk, and then the $25 goes toward Ukraine relief. And well, they just gave them a big check. They've been doing this fundraising over the last 10 months, and they've raised $450,000 for Ukrainian relief. I think it's a great thing that Holland America Line is doing. Many crew members on board from Ukraine. And so a way to go, Holland America, for handing over the big check. Now, I got to tell you about the lady who got detained for using sarcastic words, and now she's filed the lawsuit against Royal Caribbean. But before I do that, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising. So some people said that these aren't jazz hands. I call them jazz hands. Maybe this is jazz hands, or I don't know. What's the name for this? What are we going to call this? I like calling it jazz hands. Do you have a different name? Leave a comment below. If you want to stay up to date with everything going on, subscribe, notification bell, that way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Thank you in advance. There is a court case going on in the UK now. A solicitor, a lawyer herself, is representing herself in a suit against Royal Caribbean International. The story goes, she was on the Oasis of the Seas, Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas, and the seas were rough. And she was getting seasick, and she felt like she was getting seasick because of the cabin that she was in. She wanted to be moved. That was the big thing. She got on the phone with the reception, they call it, I'm assuming it's guest services, and she said, look, I'm getting seasick. I want to move to another cabin. Can you move me to another cabin? The reception told her, no, we don't have another cabin that we can move you to. We can only move someone to another cabin in the case of a medical emergency. And she said, well, there will be a medical emergency if I don't get help because, well, tomorrow I might harm myself. She used some more colorful language from that YouTube doesn't necessarily like. So you can paint the picture there. She said the very extreme thing about harming herself, and when she used that language, and she said she was doing it sarcastically, right, like a little tongue-in-cheek, like, oh well, okay, if that's the case, then how about this medical emergency? That's the sense that I got from reading her testimony. She said she was being sarcastic. However, she used the words that triggered the protocol on the cruise ship, that they're keyed in to follow a protocol if they feel like somebody's going to do self-harm. They isolate those people. Security personnel came to their cabin. They relocated the lady and her daughter to a more secure location. They took away anything in the cabin that could be used for that, and basically held her for medical evaluation until they were able to disembark her, and she basically had to pay for her own accommodations and travel home because she said the thing that triggered the protocol. And that's really what the whole court case is about. She contends that she was being sarcastic. Royal Caribbean is contending that, look, she said the words that, invoke the protocol, sarcasm or no sarcasm. Maybe that's not one of the things you should be talking about. And eventually a court will decide whether or not she is due the money for what she lost out on her trip. She used some pretty sensational language, though. She said that her detainment in the cabin seemed like being in Guantanamo Bay, which is really, I've seen the footage from Guantanamo Bay. I can't imagine a spot on a cruise ship where it would seem like that, but, I guess, that's... People get excited, right? What do you think? Do you think they should have some leeway for sarcasm? I just don't think you can, right? Like, you have to build protocols that work, and trying to discern and, have nuance for sarcasm and all that stuff. Maybe you're going to miss somebody. Maybe somebody really wants to harm themselves, and they're like, oh, I was just kidding around, and you don't take it seriously, and then something happens, and then you're in trouble that way. So, cautionary tale. Watch how you shoot your mouth off on a cruise ship and who you shoot your mouth off to on a cruise ship. And when you're dealing with people in authority and dealing with people that you're trying to get some things done with, I would just keep it as, pretty much straight-laced as possible so you don't get in trouble for the nuance. What do you think? Does this lady have a case? If you were the judge, how would you rule? Leave a comment below. Oh yeah, by the way, today we were supposed to make a port stop at Harvest Key, the private island for Norwegian Cruise Line. And well, as we approached this morning, the winds were too rough and they called it off. And so I was going to go jet skiing today for the first time ever. There'll be plenty of other opportunities. It's better to be safe than to not be safe. But now we have a sea day. So that's exciting. Sea days are fun. But yeah, our port stop here in Ocean Key is cancellated. How about that? Could you see me on a jet ski? Looking forward to that. All right. Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I sure hope you enjoyed it. You can show that you enjoyed it by hitting the like button, and unfortunately, if you do not hit the like button, I will be forced to punish you, and your punishment will be this. On your very next cruise, before you can have your favorite meal, you will have to walk down 5 flights of stairs, and then you will have to walk back up 5 flights of stairs and do 35 jumping jacks. It's the new Stay Fit to Cruise plan that they're implementing on many cruise lines, but you're exempt from that plan if you hit the like button. So it's very simple. Hit the like button. No jumping jacks. This is Tony for Lido, Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido.